Conor, thank you for joining me. Why are you doing this interview?
Because I feel like a lot of people have speculated and had time to say what they want to say, and I've never been able to speak on it.
The court of public opinion has been pretty savage about what's happened. I think it's because when the public hear anything about drugs in sport or cheating or anything like that, they immediately assume the worst. And most of the time, they're right to assume that. Let's be honest about it. You're in that horrible position for any sportsman where you failed 2 drug tests and you're trying to prove your innocence. But you've probably seen what social media has been saying. How has that impacted on you?
I mean, it's been brutal. It does feel like a witch hunt. I've never seen anything quite like this before in any other athlete, whether they've raised their hands to it or, they've just taken a small ban. I was willing to fight for my innocence and prove my innocence. Although there was an easy way out in the beginning in lying and saying, oh, I may have accidentally done this. I may have done this by accident and taken a small 6-month ban. Instead, I've chose to fight this because my integrity mattered more to me, and I would never, ever, ever raise my hands to something I ain't done.
4 months ago, you were preparing for one of the biggest fights of your life against Chris Eubank Jr. Everyone was waiting for this, huge anticipation. We all remembered what happened when the 2 fathers fought. I remember it very well, know your dad well, and Chris Eubank Sr. And then your world falls apart. What is that moment like for you when you heard about the failed drug test?
I didn't think anything of it, to be fair, when it was the first one. When they're saying they found an adverse finding, I didn't really think anything of it.
Really?
No, not at all.
Isn't that every sportsman's nightmare?
No, because I thought there may have been an error. I thought, let's run another test straight away. I've never even heard of this thing before. This is the first time I heard of this thing.
The drug, which is Clomifene, which can boost testosterone levels by up to 50%.
I'm 26. I'm 26.
And reduce body fat. Yeah, I'm just saying what it is.
Yeah, so I'm
right?
26. So when people are saying that I may have needed a testosterone booster, I'm 26 years old. I didn't even know what this thing was at the time. So for me, I thought, OK, it may have been, an error or an accident somewhere we can find out what's happened. And then when I found out that, there'd been a second adverse finding was when I was like, OK, now something's actually wrong. There's something wrong here. And
what are you feeling inside yourself at that point?
Who's done this to me? I genuinely looked around and I thought it was the hardest part of this whole period. Of everything I've been through, this was the hard part, was because I was looking around and thinking, OK, I'm actively taking it. It's actively in something, or something's happened. It's definitely there. And these were the thoughts that were going on through my head. Who's done this?
Do you accept this was in your body?
I don't accept it was in my body, not at all. Based on independent scientists looking at the reports, based on my own scientists looking at the reports and what we found. People say you may have paid for the best legal team. Damn right I paid for the best legal team. Damn right I paid for the best scientists. My career's on the line. My image is on the line. My name is on the line. And I can't be known for this. And it was more so me employing the best people to find out what had actually happened.
What do you think of people who cheat in sport?
It should be banned for life. Especially in contact sport.
It should be banned for life?
Yeah, banned for life. There's no room for it. There's been a fighter today who's just had a brain hemorrhage. There's no room for it. I know firsthand the damage it does from my dad with Joe McLennan, from Michael Watson.
I was there ringside of that fight. I mean, both men got taken to hospital. Both nearly died. And
you think I do it, and people think I do this. It's hard for me because it's like I turned pro at 19. I'm under the public eye. They've seen how hard I work over the years. They've seen, the three in the morning runs. They've seen the nutrition. They've seen the work I put in with my coaches. Everyone can vouch for how hard I work. But that's not good enough.
Normally, I would say the vast majority of times a sportsman tests positive for drugs. They always say, I didn't do it, invariably. And then almost always it is proven that they did. You're in the strange position of, you're in a kind of mid position right now, because the WBC have come back and they have said that they think there may have been reasons why you had this in your body, but they have made a presumption it was in your body. You don't even accept that.
I don't accept that.
So when they say you may have taken And he got a lot of attention, this, and some mockery.
Yeah.
But when they said it may have been a highly elevated consumption of eggs, could have created this positive testing, you don't even accept that.
I don't accept that, no. The WBC, while I was me and my team were on the phone to them on a Zoom call, they had come out and said that one of their scientists are currently dealing with 2 cyclists who have tested positive for clomifene in traces, and they can prove it's in the embryos in the eggs. I'm not willing to accept it because the 270-page report that I sent over to them, my team sent over to them, had nothing to do with eggs. It had everything to do with my test testing negative 3 times and 9 days later testing positive.
They didn't conclude they found anything wrong with the testing. What they did say, they said there was no conclusive evidence that Mr. Benn engaged in intentional or knowing ingestion of clomifene.
I don't believe it was there in the first place. You got to remember, I don't even know what this thing is. Coincidentally, for my first VADA test, coincidentally for the biggest fight of my career, there's a substance in my body that I haven't even heard of.
The reality is this particular drug, which is becoming more prevalent in sport, and no one's quite sure why, but it can, as I said, boost testosterone levels by 50%. It can reduce body fat. So it clearly would have tangible benefits on an athlete. I mean, it would. Whoever the athlete is, it would help. If someone was doing it deliberately, it would help.
Well, definitely. But what the WBC is saying is even the peak of it in my system is still only a trace.
Why don't you give this dossier, 270 pages of it, why don't you give it to the British Boxing Board of Control? Because they're ultimately the ones that can sanction or not sanction your right to fight in this country.
My dad tore up his British boxing licence on TV in the 80s. You know, the board ain't going to stop me from fighting. They can't stop me from fighting.
Well, they can stop you having a professional fight in this country.
In this country, and that's fine, so be it.
Is that fine?
They filed 7 misconduct charges against me. One of them was because we wanted the fight to go ahead. The second one was because we didn't tell Eubank immediately. And on the Monday, they said, we're upholding all charges. I thought you lot can do one. You think I'm going to sit here and take this?
But if you have what they've said is, well, show us the evidence.
But I couldn't care less.
You've got 270 pages of apparent evidence. Surely the smart thing to do, whatever your views of the Board of Control, they are the governing body. Surely you should just give them your evidence. Let them respond.
That's down to my legal team. You know.
Well, what would stop you? I don't understand what stops you.
My pride, the way they've dealt with this,
Pride won't get you through this.
But the board, I don't have to be licensed by the board. That's my views on it.
You do to fight in Britain.
I don't plan on fighting in Britain anytime soon.
Just put it all on the internet.
I want to. Trust me.
What's stopping you?
The ongoing legal cases. That's the only reason.
You seem to look. This is your career, your livelihood. This is everything at stake here, isn't it?
No, I agree.
Everything's on the line.
I agree, and this is what I keep trying to tell my lawyer. But you can't do this. You can't do that, mate. This would have been public. I've known what I've known since December, and I've kept quiet. Everyone firing, everyone attacking me, and I've known what I've known since December. And I'm sitting here again, going, well, why can't we just release the information? Why can't the public just know what's actually gone on?
Because the public, from what I looked at it today, social media, is savage. They've convicted you. They think you're guilty.
And I'm going to have to deal with that, I think. I think public have made up their mind.
How are you going to deal with that?
There will be...
Because Eddie Hearn, your promoter, says, look, it's time you've got to move on, you've got to progress. What do you think when he says that?
Well, I think the public have made up their mind already. Irrelevant of what's presented, irrelevant of what the board say. I've got strong DNA and I'm one hell of a fighter, naturally. I work hard, I've made loads of sacrifices and I'm willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. And that's why I'm where I am, not because of cheating.
If you feel this passionately about it, I can sense it. I can sense you're emotional about this. To be branded a cheat in the court of public opinion, what has that done to you?
Yes, it's hurt me. Yeah, it's hurt me. This has. Yeah.
How badly?
I didn't think I was going to make it through this period. I didn't think I was going to make it through. There was shame for something I hadn't even done. It's hard because it was like I felt like I was on death row for something I hadn't even done. If I had done something wrong, I'm human. I raised my hands to it. I made a mistake. Whatever it is, my personal life, whatever it is, I raised my hands. Never this. And, I felt like 7 years of hard work and sacrifice and leaving my family and the image I maintained was just, ruined at somebody else's incompetence. It was, it's been hard for the family.
When you say you didn't think you'd make it, what do you mean?
I didn't think I would. I didn't think I was taking it day by day. I didn't think I'd see another day.
You were feeling suicidal?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. Yeah, and it upsets me now because I don't know how I got so bad. I got in a really bad way, babe. You got to remember, if you think I'm innocent or if you don't think I'm innocent, I am innocent.
Yeah, I mean, look, let me be clear. I don't know, right? This is the first time we've met. I know your father from old. I've watched you from afar. I've admired your work in a boxing ring. But I don't know if you're innocent.
I would never do this to my family. I would never do this to my supporters. You think I'd do this to my dad? You think I'd do this to my son, who's now got to grow up and look at this? You think it's not who I am? There's been too many, you know.
Well, what kind of thing?
Just kill yourself.
People have told you to kill yourself?
Kill yourself. People said, kill yourself. Racist comments to my son, my family.
On social media?
Yeah.
Anything in person? In the streets?
Nothing in person, no, never. Nothing in person. It's cowardly. It's cowardly. I don't even think it's social media that bothers me. It was more so the shame I felt leaving the house. Although I'd done nothing wrong. I was having night terrors, panic attacks, and I don't throw these words out in mental health. I was really struggling. I was in a really bad way, and I was coping terribly with it. I was coping in a really bad way with it.
How are you now about it?
It's still hard for me because I still can't believe I'm in this situation. I still can't believe how much the public want me to be guilty. It's all boxing pundits. You're telling me I'm guilty. Boxing pundits telling me I'm guilty. They know me. They know my family. You know what I stand for. You know who I am. Why are you trying to label me a cheat?
You're not suing the labs, right?
Well, there is that too. You think manufacturing, manipulating and concealing evidence. I got an independent scientist to look at a report and that's what we've seen from one of the best labs. Manipulation, manufacturing and concealing evidence.
But that wasn't verified by the WBC.
What are the WBC going to come out and say?
Rob, that's what I mean. You've got to go to the governing body that can actually look at this properly.
It's hard because I want this to be done. I want this to be finished and I want to resume with my career. Should I just sit back and accept the fact that
Are you going to sue the board?
No, of course. I'll be suing the board.
When?
When it will be suing them now. My legal team will be in touch. Would you mean when? As soon as
For how much
possible.
money, do you know?
For the full loss of earnings, damaged reputation.
How much is that?
Because the board shouldn't recognise VADA.
Let me ask you this. Let's assume for a moment your theory is right. It's a theory. It's not proven scientifically yet and hasn't been ratified by any governing body. But if your theory is right, it was contaminated, it would prompt the question, well, why? Who would want to do that?
It would be the only way it would be contamination if it is.
In whose interest is it to ruin this great fight?
I'm not saying it was deliberate. What, in the lab? I'm not saying it was deliberate. It may be an error in the testing. I'm not saying deliberately. I'm not saying that anyone's in the labs deliberately done this. I'm not saying that at all, but it may be an accident. It may be an error.
There are millions and millions of pounds at stake here, dollars, wherever you decide.
Does this all sound, from what I've said about the testing, manipulation, manufacturing, concealing evidence, from what I'm saying to you, does that sound...
Listen, you sound like you have a welter of information, but I cannot for the life of me understand why you wouldn't then give it to the governing body. It's down to them whether you fight in this country again.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. That to me makes no sense.
Because I can get a licence elsewhere.
What does Eddie... I've got a lot of time for Eddie Hearn. I think he's a brilliant promoter and he cares about his fighters. He wants you to try and move on from this. That's his advice, right? What have you said to him about that?
I just said I need the biggest fight possible, the hardest fight, so that when I beat that person in devastating fashion, there's no questions as to my whole career. There's no questions. It's done. That's what I want to do. I can't come back. I don't need no warm-up. I don't need no easy fight. I don't need a warm-up to get back into it. I'm 26 years old. Give me the best name. Give me the biggest name.
Have you been training properly?
Of course I have. I've tried throughout this whole period.
Is it hard to train properly when you're in this mental state?
Now it's fine. I struggled. There was probably about 2 months where I was, I was in a really bad way,
Did you talk to your dad about it?
I did, but my dad was in a bad way as well.
Why? Over this?
Over this, yeah. Yeah, my dad was... I was in a bad way. I was sobbing most nights. Didn't want to go to sleep because I knew what I had to wake up to. You got to remember, this is a nightmare for me. how has this happened? How have I got in this situation? My faith let me down.
You feel that?
Oh, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Let me bring in your dad, who's been listening to this. He's over in Sydney. Nigel, I've not talked to you for a long time. We used to have a few dinners together. It's good to see you. I've got 3 sons, all in their 20s, actually, one of whom is Conor's age. And I can't imagine many tougher things for a father to have to deal with than listening to your son talking in such a profoundly emotional and upsetting way about feeling suicidal in the last few weeks and months since all this went down. How does that, first of all, make you feel as a father to hear this?
I'll tell you what, Piers, I was actually in the same position as my son. I was really struggling as well for myself. I don't really drink. Every night I was drinking like half a bottle of red wine a night on medication. And we both were in a dark place because to me, it looks like this is a witch hunt. It's like we're going back to the 1800s. She's a witch, burn her. And it's like, yeah, burn her. I think, hold on a minute, that's my son. And one thing is, Piers, if I ever thought my son was guilty of anything, mate, I'd say, son, I love you, but you know what? You got to deal with this on your own, mate. I'll hang him out to dry. But I was actually in this training camp with him, Piers. I was training with him.
I would say on that there are lots of benefits to being the son of somebody famous. And I've had this conversation with my sons. But there are also disadvantages. Conor will get an irrational
100%.
amount of attention because he's your son. I don't understand why, if there's this compelling dossier of 270 pages of material, why not make that public and why not give it to the British Boxing Board?
Okay, listen, I agree with you, Piers, but the same way I feel that they're dealing with Conor and not these other fighters is the same way they dealt with me.
Listen, Nigel, I understand your passion, I understand Conor's passion, but I also think if you've gone to all this trouble to draw up this massive dossier of evidence and the British Boxing Board is asking for it, I don't understand how it can be anything but bad for your case if you don't hand it over. I mean, at very least, call their bluff. Say, right, here you are. Get them to respond to it. I don't know why. If I was in your position, that's what I would do. You're like your father. You are your own man, right? You are. And if you wanted to, you could put this out there tonight.
Yeah.
I still don't think that proves my innocence at all. I've just been cleared by the organisation the testing which I failed.
I don't understand why you wouldn't want to counter that agenda by making public this dossier.
Because I don't know what it is they got in for me. I don't know what vendetta it is.
Yeah,
they
but it's
hold.
like saying you're accused of killing someone.
Okay, but I've been proven innocent by the authorities that run that test.
I wouldn't say you've been proven innocent. They just couldn't
Well, just give me the clear. They've said you're...
They said there was no conclusive evidence. Just to be clear exactly what they said, right? It's not an absolutely unequivocal, you're definitely innocent, but it's certainly not unhelpful. I've seen sportsmen come back from this when they've gone through the process. Nigel.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I don't know what the legal side of it, but yeah, me personally, and I love my son, you know, and I know for a fact that he's an innocent man.
Nigel, speaking as a father now, you know, Conor talked very movingly about, you know, sobbing every night while talking to you. You're in Australia, the other part of the world, you know, the time zones, you're drinking, you're feeling terrible too. Those conversations must be some of the most painful you've ever had in your life, right? What did you say to Conor in those conversations to try and stop him from, as he put it, you know, considering taking his life?
I'll be honest with you, Piers, it was like I come home here because I was with Conor for 5 months. I wasn't here. I was in England with him. So while he was going through this period, like I was there with him. I'd stayed until January, and then after, then my mum died. So I had so much pressure on me. And I was just a mess, and so I wasn't actually really good for Conor because actually I was trying to be strong, But there again, it was like while he was out, he was dealing with his own issues. I was trying to deal with mine, and we struggled, We both got through it together, thank God.
Nigel, I've got to wrap it. Unfortunately, what I would say to you, Conor, is I feel that you're in a lot of pain about this. That's clear, and I'm extremely sorry you've been going through what you've been going through, because nobody should ever feel that way, and it's awful. And the court of public opinion on social media can be particularly brutal. I've experienced myself. It's a very, very unpleasant thing. But I also think you can turn that round. But ultimately, this may be down to you, deciding what you want to do with your life and your future and your career. I mean, what is the dream for you out of this hell?
Just get back fighting. The fighting's the easy part. This has been the hardest fight I've ever had to face. The fighting's the easy part. I'm born fighting. It's in my blood.
Well, Conor, I wish you well in pursuing this. I'm not going to make a judgment until it's all concluded. The facts are what they are as we know them, but the facts can develop. If there is genuinely new information which exonerates you, my advice is get it out there.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. And Nigel, I appreciate you joining me from Australia. It's very early over there. And I thank you also for your candour. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Until Conor get that thing off his top lip.
Well, that is a problem, I agree. Yeah. Some things fathers can't just get their sons to do. All my sons have weird facial hair. It's got to stop, I agree. Hey, good to talk to you, Nigel. It's been a while, and I appreciate you joining me.